South Alabama continues to climb towards first place in the Sun Belt. It's Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, a Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Mazda. We put the same drive into every detail. Wins define the moment, putting in the work that defines you. Stay tuned for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. Okay, we'll start off with South Alabama here in a minute. That correlates with Troy laying a complete egg. Here comes Marshall. They're going to play in the biggest game in the Sun Belt this year, and ULM was oh so close. But we start off with the South Alabama Jaguars, who hang on to defeat Georgia State 69, if I can find it here, 69-67, in a ball game that South Alabama dominated. For the most part, they were ahead for 31 minutes. Georgia State was ahead for 3 minutes, and I believe that was all in the first half. I'm a win and move on guy. You guys know that, and we'll get into more details here in a second. But this is the second straight game that South Alabama had a large lead on. Earlier in the week, last week, they had a big lead against Coastal Carolina, and they let that one slip away. This was, let's see here, this is at least an 11-point game with four. Well, this is not time remaining. It was 53-41. That's with 12 minutes to go. But even after that, They led by 9 with 6.5 minutes to go. 6:41. Still plenty of time, but I'm one of those guys who likes to guess the winning score. And I was pretty close. I wasn't sure Georgia State was going to score 64, and they did. And all I said is all that South Alabama has to do in the last 6:41 is score 70, because Georgia State's not going to score 15 points in the last 6:41 of the game. Of course, they hit 2 threes right away, and so they got to 61 on back-to-back possessions. Nonetheless, they had some bad turnovers. They missed some free throws. That was an issue again in this ball game, as it has been in the past. South Alabama, 10 out of 19 free throws. You did have, I believe it was J.J. Wheat, who hit 2 free throws at the end and then missed the front end of a 1-and-1. You did have Randy Brady hit 1 of 2, and that allowed Georgia State to come on down and attempt a 3 that would have been the winning shot. Georgia State did have, I think, 3 shots at this. It was 62-64 South Alabama, and they had a bunch of missed shots. Jelani Hamilton missed a 3. Offensive rebound by Georgia State. Missed layup by Jonas Chappelle. Offensive rebound by Anthony Eno. Anthony Eno missed a layup. Offensive rebound by Malachi Brown. Missed jumper by Micah Tucker. And finally, Adam Olson got the rebound. So that's, what is that? That's 1, 2, 3, 4 shots just to tie the game up, and they could not do that. Okay. So South Alabama hangs on. Again, I'm a win and move on kind of guy, but when you're looking for trends, that's a trend that doesn't bode well for South Alabama, because somewhere along the way, that 3-pointer by Jelani Hamilton is going to go in. All right. A call that may have gone their way is not going to go their way when you should have won this ball game by double digits. Give it up to Georgia State for battling back. Absolutely deserve a bunch of credit. Hit a bunch of threes and made it tough for South Alabama. South Alabama sort of was making it tough on them. There's only 30 seconds in the shot clock. This is not like it used to be 40, 45 seconds. You can run the offense and not go to the bucket. If you're looking to waste 10, 15 seconds, can't you do that just running the offense? If you get a layup, take it, And you don't have to take the open 3 if you want to run some clock down, but you also don't want to heave wild 3-pointers up with 4 seconds left on the shot clock, because that's not a good shot. So that's the only thing. Obviously, that South Alabama played certainly well enough to win. Let's go over some of the stats in that one. Chaz Harris had 15 points, 3 of 6 from the line. Olsen had 10, still struggling shooting a little bit, 4-10 overall. Cooper had 11 points. J.J. Wheat had 9. Randy Brady had 7, all right, and had some nice passes. Only grabbed 2 rebounds, though. Olsen did have 11 rebounds. For Georgia State, you did have Malachi Brown with 21 points, 7 of 16 from 3. Hamilton had 12. And Trey Scott, the third, had 10 points. South Alabama improves to 7-3, 1/2 game, really a game behind Troy because Troy's beating them. They have to wait 3 weeks to take Troy on again. That should be in Mobile. And Georgia State falls to 6-5. They've had back-to-back losses. Remember, they were in second place. They were 6-3 heading into the week, and now they've lost 2 in a row, so they fall a little bit. All right, so South Alabama, half a game or a game behind Troy. And that is because Troy took it on the chin badly. App State hammers Troy 66-44. And I don't know if just Troy played badly or they gave up. Troy was leading in this ball game 19-16, and App State went on a 16-0 run. Let me say that again. They went on a 16-0 run. This ball game was in Troy. And only one player for Troy in double figures, and that was Sang, 13 points. Thomas Dowd, 1 of 13, 0 of 7 from 3, 2 points. Cooper Campbell, 2 points, 1 of 4. Kobe Campbell, 5 points, 2 of 5. I mean, they were just bad. I'm not sure what happened. App State kind of, that's their game. They score somewhere in the high 60s, low 70s, and they play good defense. And obviously they played amazing defense. I guess the big stat in this ball game is Kasen Jennings with 33 points on 11 of 18 shooting, on fire from 3, 7 for 11, and 4 of 5 from the free throw line. He had 33 points. Troy had 44. So App State is right in there now. They're in third place in the Sun Belt. They are a half a game behind South Alabama. Remember, South Alabama has to play Marshall on a Monday in a couple of weeks. So that's down the road. So they're going to have a 3-game week later on in the year. And so this is the problem when you're a Sun Belt team in basketball, and maybe Troy's going to get it out of their system because I still think they're the best team in the conference. They're not playing that way now. But you have one bad game and different in the conference tournament, and you're done in your whole season, which was really good up until heading into this week. You're going to be disappointed by not making the NCAA tournament. The difference between, like, say, a Cajuns team gets hot or Old Dominion is tough. The chances of them being able to knock off, a 1 or 2 seed is so slim because they would have played multiple ball games before they even get to the semifinals, right? They would have to go through all of the teams, and including the 3 and 4 seed, to knock those teams off. So it's going to be tough to have a team like that make a run, but certainly a top 6 team in this league could knock off Troy, and as JMU just did earlier in the week. So that's the only problem, is it can end very quickly. And maybe this will be a call for Troy or not. We shall see. All right, here comes the Marshall Thundering Herd. They go into Jonesboro and help continue Arkansas State's slide. We'll talk about that right after I tell you about FanDuel and the Everyday Air Club. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season officially comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel is making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding with the underdog, as I am, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every snap feels bigger. It's a perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5 and get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, the season is over. Last call for football on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And the Everydayer Club. Thank you for making Locked On Sunbelt your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already live Sunbelt sports every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club and get Locked On Sunbelt with no interruptions, all for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Go to lockedonsunbelt.supercast.com or click the link in the show notes to learn more. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. We continue to talk Sunbelt hoops. We have Marshall taking down Arkansas State, and that's another thing. I don't know what has gone wrong with Arkansas State. Marshall wins this ballgame 70-61. There was not a whole lot of offense. Reading from the Stat Broadcast website, Arkansas State was 0 of 8 on field goals, 1 of their last 16. Marshall wasn't much better. 0 of 7 from the floor, 1 of their last 10. Arkansas State did not have a field goal in the last 6:19. Marshall didn't have one in the last 5:36. So not a whole lot of good offense in this one. But Marshall takes down Arkansas State 70-61. Dubinsky, 23 points. 7 of 10 shooting, 6 of 9 from 3, 3 of 4 from the free throw line. Hughie had 17 points, 6 of 9 from the floor, 1 of 2 from 3, and 4 of 4 from the free throw line. Marshall, a solid 12 out of 15 from the free throw line. They did shoot 23s there, 8 out of 20 from 3. So they were pretty good. And again, Arkansas State didn't lead very much in this ballgame. Led for 4.5 minutes. Marshall led for 30. This was in Jonesboro. Again, Ryan Pannone had this squad going in the right direction. I'm not sure exactly what has happened. I don't know if someone's hurt. Please let me know. I haven't seen that. I know JMU is banged up, but Arkansas State all of a sudden has lost 3 in a row and 5 out of 6. Their only win was a solid win at Georgia Southern, 85-68. They have lost some close ball games. It started with a game they should have won against South Alabama. They got blown out by Troy. They blew out Georgia Southern, lost in a squeaker to Georgia State by 1, lost in a squeaker to Old Dominion, and then, in a close ball game to Marshall. So they got blown out one time and probably had some games they should have won. They were winning those close games earlier. They're not now. And that's what I'm talking about for the tournament, for Troy and South Alabama, if they want to get that first place spot and the #1 seed. But Marshall continues to play pretty well. All right. They had, let's see if we get the split box. They shot 45% on the road. That's pretty good. 40% from 3, which we said. And again, a solid 12 out of 15 from the free throw line. Bench points because Dubinsky came off the bench. They scored 46 points off the bench. That's awesome. They had 17 assists out of their 25 field goals. That's a great job of moving the basketball and makes it very, very difficult to defend. So Marshall is sitting there right behind, I believe, App State. They're 6-4. They have 2 games that they got to make up. And so you got Troy is 8-3, South Alabama 7-3, App State is 8-4, and Marshall is 6-4. Coastal Carolina is back to 7-5. We'll talk about them here momentarily. But Marshall is going to be playing on Saturday, coming up in lovely Huntington, West Virginia, Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio, I believe, is one of 2 teams that are undefeated in the country. That's it. Miami of Ohio does have a tough game against Buffalo. Buffalo is kind of middle of the MAC, but Miami of Ohio needed a little bit of a miracle to beat them earlier in the year. And so now they got to go to Miami or to Buffalo, weather permitting, I guess, this week. All right. And then they will play the Marshall Thundering Herd in what will be again, the biggest ball game. Someone said it's the biggest game since Marshall was in the NCAA tournament. Okay, Miami of Ohio's getting they're ranked. Let's see here. They play Buffalo on the 3rd. So that's Tuesday. Marshall is playing. Does Marshall have a ball game? Marshall's getting Southern Miss on Wednesday. So there's an extra day in there for Miami. Not that big a deal. Not like playing on back-to-back days, but that's going to be the biggest ball game. Miami very easily could be a top 20 team going to play Marshall. I think that's very cool. So we shall see. Well, absolutely. Well, I'm working over the weekend, but that's going to be a lot of fun to follow on Super Bowl weekend. But that'll be a huge ball game for the Marshall Thundering Herd. All right, elsewhere in the Sun Belt, let's see what else we got here. We did App State. How about the Cajuns? The Cajuns have won 2 in a row, something they've only done twice this year. And they have matched what I think is their lowest win total in school history. It's 7. So they have matched that. They will not set a new record for futility this season. And, they kind of played the way the Cajuns do, play good defense. Georgia Southern scores a lot of points. Let's see what they average. Georgia Southern averages over 80 points a game. They scored 60. Now, do the Cajuns benefit from the weather issues that were in Monroe? Sure. Georgia Southern played Friday afternoon and then played Saturday. So that's going to be a bonus for the Cajuns. That's not the Cajuns' fault, but they do get the benefit of that situation. And actually, the Cajuns, we said that was the most that they scored. That's not true. They scored. The most they scored was against Monroe in a victory, right? They don't score over 65 very much, and they scored 69 in this one. And remember, they're a banged up basketball team. So good to see the Cajuns win a couple of ball games in a row. Let's see what we got here. You did have Laverne leading the way with 17 points. Finister had 15 points. Olvera with 15. Woodson off the bench with 11. And the Cajuns don't shoot this way. They shot 50% from the floor, 50% from 3. And so that's tough to beat. They actually upped that in the second half where they shot 56% from both. And they did a good enough job from the line, 10 out of 14. They held Georgia Southern to about 39% and 33% from 3, and it got better in the second half, 35% and 29%. So Cajuns win their second in a row. And again, people are saying, you never know. It's a long way to go. We'll see how far they can get. Going to be, again, tough to make a run to be in the top 4. They don't have that far to go in terms of the standings, right? They're 5 and 6. They're 1 game behind Georgia State, who's 7th. Cajuns are sitting in 11th. So there's not a whole lot of, differential between 11th and 7th. And then, in fact, they're 1 game behind Coastal Carolina, who is actually 5th. So you can move up very quickly if they can string some wins together. They are at James Madison. The Central Michigan game doesn't really count. And then they're at Coastal. They're hosting a Coastal. Then they go to Old Dominion. I think that's one of those make-up ball games. And they're going to play 3 games in a week. So they're at Old Dominion, Arkansas State, and Texas State. We're going to find out right then and there if they're going to be able to do that. They kind of have to go and got to win 3 out of those 4, if not win all 4. So we shall see how that works out. Okay, I think, did we do all the games from Saturday? Let's see. Because we still have ULM to do against Coastal Carolina. We did South Alabama and Georgia State. Oh, we got to do Texas State and Old Dominion. We'll do that next. I went Southern Miss and James Madison. All right, so we can do that in the final segment, as ULM was so close to their first Sun Belt victory, despite never leading in the ballgame. We'll talk about that next after I tell you about Mazda. This is Mazda's moving the game forward. For those who show there's more to the score than what's on the screen. Let's give it up to the Louisiana Ragin' Cajuns for winning their second in a row. It has been a very disappointing, injury-filled season for the Cajuns, but they do continue to battle, and they've won a couple in a row, maybe trying to make a run at a good seed in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. These remind us of what it really takes to raise the bar. It's that extra work off the court, dialing in every detail, giving it that extra fire, that grit, and I never quit. We put the same passion in every model. Highlights make the reel. What it took to get there makes it count. There's more to a Mazda because there's more to you. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Let's wrap it up with, among others, ULM falling to Coastal Carolina. Probably should be promoting Coastal Carolina. They defeat ULM 83-79, and it has been an awful week for ULM, having trouble getting back home last week. And then, I don't think any power or water in northern Louisiana as they're dealing with, treacherous and dangerous conditions. They had to play they played Georgia Southern at Grambling on Friday. And then on Sunday, they went back home to Fant Ewing Coliseum to take on Coastal Carolina. And again, this is a great example of not giving up. Let's just, you don't have to be coy about this. They are having a god-awful season, all right? They're 3-20. They are 0-11 they're 0-11 in the Sun Belt, and they've lost, I guess it's going to be 13 straight ball games because we got a Kansas State loss in there and a Miami game in there as well. So they've lost 13 straight. They've beaten Arkansas Baptist, Mississippi Valley State, and Rust. And I'd have to look if any one of those are Division I schools. Out of 365 schools, ULM is ranked in the NCAA net rankings 359. It's been a brutal season for ULM. And yet, they had a shot to beat Coastal Carolina. Tough spot for Coastal Carolina as well. I understand that. On getting home on Sunday is not going to be easy. I think App State was stuck in the Charlotte airport as roads were closed in North Carolina. Hopefully everybody is getting home safe. I did suggest to somebody, probably should have put it online, that App State should have just done a walkthrough in the Charlotte airport food court. Video would have gone viral. Don't even need a ball. Just do a walkthrough. You could have a ball, I guess. But just do a walkthrough and let people watch. It would give them something to do as everybody was stuck in the same airport. Nonetheless, Coastal Carolina does win the ball game. And again, ULM did not lead in this ball game ever. They were down by 13 late in the first half, but there was not a whole lot of double-digit leads for Coastal Carolina in the second half. ULM did have a shot to tie this ball game up. I thought it was tied up at 65. And Sondors missed a three-pointer to tie it up or to take the lead. And from there, Coastal Carolina took over. In fact, they had a shot to take the lead. Christian Lewis made a three to make it 65 all. And then Saunders missed a layup. And they never got another shot to after the missed three-pointer to tie this one up. There was an opportunity to foul and send them to the line to make a one-on-one with about 50 seconds left after allowing an offensive rebound. They did not. Now, Coastal Carolina ends up missing, but ULM came down and missed it. They got as close as 75-73, and I think that's about as close as they got towards the end. But again, we're wishing ULM and everybody in the conference who's dealing with this weather. It's just been a miserable season for ULM. It would have been nice to see them squeak out a victory. And they played Georgia Southern tough, and they played Coastal Carolina tough. Should be mentioned again, where did I say? Coastal Carolina's 5th, right? Kind of lurking in there, kind of hanging around. They're 7-5. They're 1 game behind Marshall, and then you have the odd number of ball games. So actually they've played more ball games, but they're 1 game behind Marshall, I guess tied with Marshall, technically. Marshall 6-4, Coastal Carolina 7-5. So they're 1 game behind App State as it is. They're 1 game behind South Alabama because South Alabama has played 2 fewer ball games. So, and I guess they are 1.5 games, as the standing says, behind Troy. So, but Coastal Carolina is hanging in there. They are right there, but ULM was so close to getting that victory. All right. Otherwise, Southern Miss does snap their losing streak, which is probably good to see, at 5. They beat a banged-up JMU squad, who, of course, kind of been that year for JMU. They beat Troy and then lose to Southern Miss. Go figure. They were on a 2-game winning streak, playing their best basketball, and then just tanked it against Southern Miss. I know they were banged up and missing some guys, but Southern Miss, who I think was better than they've been playing, have not been very good. They've lost again. They had lost 5 in a row. 4 of them, I don't know if it's coincidence or not, 4 of them since the Mo Arnold allegations came out and surfaced. Not that he has anything to do with this team, just I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. But a good job by Southern Miss to hang on and win this ball game, 73 to 65. They shot about the same. JMU actually made more field goals. Southern Miss wins this at the free throw line, outshooting JMU 28 out of 34, 15 out of 26. So not only did they make 13 more three-pointers, they only missed 6, or free throws rather. They only missed 6, shooting 82%. JMU missed 9 free throws in a ball game. They lost by 8. Could have made it a little bit closer. Otherwise, really even stats all the way around, except Southern Miss did lead for most of the ball game. They improved to 6-6. JMU, after their quick 2-game winning streak, drops to 4-7. And ODU, having their kind of travel issues as well, trying to get to San Marcos, they fall to Texas State. ODU is, again, one of those teams, maybe like the Cajuns, could create some havoc in the Sun Belt Conference tournament, depending on where they are ranked or seeded, as the case may be. They are better than their 7-16 record overall and 4-7 in the Sun Belt. You know, they went to Coastal and won. They went at App State and won. They won at Arkansas State. This team actually seems to be better on the road, although not this time in San Marcos. Texas State wins 81 to 64. Good defense from Texas State, holding ODU to 33%. And again, both teams actually shot free throws very well. ODU 82% and Texas State 80. Rebounds were rather even. Just seems like it's the shooting that was the difference in the ball game. Texas State at home actually committed more fouls, but they led the entire way. Again, fast break points, maybe is that over turnovers, I guess. ODU did commit 14 turnovers to Texas State's 8. Fast break points were 19-5 in favor of Texas State, and they did win it by 17 points. All right, so quickly, once again, going over the standings. Troy clinging to a half-a-game lead on South Alabama. App State is right behind the Jags. I guess they're technically tied. South Alabama is 7-3. App State is 8-4. Marshall is 6-4. Coastal Carolina 7-5. Georgia State, Georgia Southern 6-5. Texas State and Southern Miss both 6-6. Arkansas State has fallen to 5-6. Same with the Cajuns, 5-6. JMU 4-7. Old Dominion 4-7, and Monroe 0-11. All right, we will continue our preview of the Sun Belt baseball. We'll have probably episodes Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then probably over the weekend. I have 8 scheduled so far. 7 are in the can. I got one more scheduled, and another one has reached out to me. So that's 9. And so if we happen to get 5 more, that would be all for the following week, or maybe part of the weekend. So we shall see. All right. Again, the idea is to get it all before Friday, the 13th. All right. So we'll try and do that. But I do appreciate all the SIDs that I'm harassing and the coaches. I mean, Kermit Smith did this at home. It was in the evening at home. I think these guys have a little bit of time before they get home, but I appreciate everyone working around my schedule, and I'm happy to work around their schedule, although no one reached back out to me for this past weekend when I had a very enjoyable weekend off. Again, I do appreciate it. Thank you for all your support. Keep on subscribing. We did get some more subscribers over the weekend. Now I'm hoping for 2,900 rather than 3,000. I thought we were going to get close to 3,000 for the baseball season. Now I'm just hoping for 2,900 for the baseball season. We need, I think, like 14 more. So if we can get their way, that would be very, very cool. All right. It's going to be a good week as we look towards the Super Bowl. On a personal note, it's going to be fun listening and watching to all that Patriots stuff for a week. Go to my guy. If you want that stuff, go to my guy, Nick Cattles, who does a great job of hosting Locked on Patriots. All right. So we'll be enthused with that. We'll probably put the Brady jersey on throughout the week. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. Appreciate it. If you're interested in that Everydayer Club, go to the show notes and you can check it out and get more information from that. All right. You've been watching Locked on Sunbelt, your teams every day. Have a great Monday, everybody. We'll talk to you again on Tuesday.